Today, we're going to be looking at Firefly Misbehavin and how you can get set up and playing this deck building game for 2 to 4 players. So get your ship, gather your crew, and get ready to roam the verse as we dive into the latest Firefly game. The goal is to get enough cards into your tableau, adding to enough power to declare yourself the winner. First, we will be setting up the board for playing your first turn. Each player will need to select a faction deck and the associated player board. You have a choice between the Alliance, Eavesdown, Niska, and Serenity. Each faction has unique cards and abilities which will determine your playstyle. You will then start with a verse card, 1 verse token, and 1 credit. Next, we will create the supply board. While you can create your own supply board, we will use the suggested layout seen in the rulebook. We also have to create the marker board from which you will add cards to your deck. There are 3 cards, the core, border, and rim. Shuffle each deck and place them face down next to their respective rows. Draw 2 cards and place them face up in the slots next to their decks. Now each player will shuffle their starting deck and draw 5 cards. With this done, you are now ready to start your very first turn. There are 4 different actions you can do in your turn, and most can only be done once. These are Recruitment, Activation, Verse Acquisition, and Spending Verse. We will go over these in order, but you can perform any of these actions in any order you choose. First up is Recruitment. Recruitment is the main way you add cards to your faction deck. Each card has a recruitment cost shown in the top right. In order to successfully recruit the card, you must play cards with enough influence to match or exceed the recruitment cost. Influence of each card is found in the bottom right of the cards as you play them. If you are successful, take each card you played, including your recruitment card, and place them in your recycle deck, where your new card will eventually enter your deck. Note that if you used a card from the supply board, instead of going to the recycle deck, it will instead return to the supply board. Activation can be used in 4 different ways, but you can only choose one. First up, you can play a card to your tableau and immediately trigger it for its lightning bolt ability. To trigger a card, turn it sideways, then follow the instructions on the card. Triggering a card shows that the card has been used and cannot be used again until it has reset at the start of your next turn. Cards from your hand go into the play area in their corresponding slots, but make sure you have room. There are slots for characters, items, and assets. Another way to use your activation is to trigger a card that you have already played. Next up, you can pick a fight using cards with a fight attribute. After playing a card with a fight attribute in the display area, you choose a card in the opponent's tableau, then choose to either dispatch or nab. Successfully dispatching a card will remove it from the opponent's play area and move it into their recycle deck. Nabbing a card will move the card from the opponent and put that card directly into your hand. To win a fight, you must play cards that have a power total, bottom left, that equals or exceeds the total defense value in the top right. Both players will then play cards until a player is unable or willing to add any more. If the attacking player wins, the card is nabbed or dispatched. If the attacker won, like in our example, they gain a reward of their choice. They can draw a card, gain a credit, or gain a verse token. They also add the targeted card if they chose to nab it, adding it to their hand. All cards played are returned to their corresponding recycle decks regardless of whether the attack won or failed. Lastly, if the player lost a card, that player is no longer an eligible target for picking a fight till after their next turn. You can also make a deal with your activation. You do this by using influence and credits to gain a card from the market or supply board. You initiate a deal by playing a card with the handshake symbol from your hand or from your tableau to the display area and picking your chosen card you want to add. To succeed, you must meet or exceed the cost of the market supply board card, top right, using the influence of cards, the value in the bottom right of your cards. In addition to cards, you can also use verse tokens or credits to increase your total influence, each worth 1 influence. Other players can interfere with your deal and cancel it if they have cards with that ability. If a deal is cancelled, you must immediately perform a recruitment action instead, and any credits or verse tokens are returned to you. If you cannot recruit, all cards in play are sent to your recycled deck. Each faction has a different verse card and a different way of generating a token. You can only gain verse tokens like this once a turn, so make sure to plan ahead. Verse tokens are a resource that carry over into later turns, but you cannot hold more than 6. The last action is spending verse. You can use your hard-earned verse tokens in a number of ways, depending on your faction and what is listed on your verse card. Some of these are available to everyone, such as +1 activation, giving you an extra activation this turn, retain, which allows you to keep a card in play that you move to the display area, and replay. Some of these are unique, or even have their own special rules, like the Alliance's ability to issue a warrant. Check out the rulebook for full details on how these work. Once your turn is over, you draw 5 cards from your faction deck. You reduce the number of cards you draw for every card on your tableau that is triggered. If you cannot draw any more cards, you will have to make a new deck from your recycle deck. Simply shuffle your recycle deck, place it face down, and draw your remaining cards. To win, you need to play and control your tableau cards amounting to the power required to win the game. The amount needed varies depending on the number of players. You must start your turn with the required amount of power to win. Note that you must announce you have the required amount of power, as you cannot surprise other players. With that, you are now prepared to jump in and start playing Firefly Misbehavin. No power in the verse can stop you.